Welcome to Geometry Honors. My name is Miss Karis. Happy back to school night. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. I appreciate you taking the time and doing so. I wish I could meet you all in person tonight, but I know if given the circumstances, doing it virtually is kind of our best option right now. So I just kind of made this PowerPoint or this little presentation to kind of highlight who I am so you guys can learn who's actually teaching your students. So a little more about myself. And then also just kind of highlighting the important stuff, hopefully answering any questions that may have arisen throughout the semester so far. So a little bit about myself. I grew up in Fort Morgan, Colorado. My parents owned a farm out there. So I grew up on a farm. They still live out there. And then I got the opportunity to go play collegiate volleyball at the University of Mount Olive, which is in North Carolina. So I got recruited to go out there. I played for 4 years. I did end up blowing out my knee one of my years, so I did have to redshirt there and have surgery. So I know all about those injuries you get as an athlete, and I know the devastation that comes with it. But I also know the determination that it took to get back to where I am and to be able to play again. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise when you go through some of those things because you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about the people around you, and it's one of those things you can really grow from. So as I was there, I got a bachelor's of science in mathematics and a minor in business marketing. And then I moved on to Howard Payne University. So here I was offered a graduate assistant position to coach collegiately for 2 years while I was getting a master's in business administration with a concentration in marketing as well. So as you can see, my career path was kind of a little more business focused. I had no idea what I wanted to major in when I got to college. I was really good at math, so I figured, well, I could go into mathematics. And then I started taking a couple marketing courses, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting. I really just enjoyed the business aspect and the ability to kind of market and create those things to market. So while I was in grad school, I still had this interest in marketing, but I also grew a greater interest in coaching. And so I wanted to coach collegiately as I finished grad school. And then knowing kind of the inconsistency of a college coaching job and how all over the place you kind of are. This was right at the time my sister had her first kid. And I was just, very drawn to come back to Colorado. I just didn't want to miss out on anything. And I'm really close to my family, and I just always have put family first. So I moved back home to Colorado. I got a job at a bank for a little bit and then just kind of realized that it wasn't for me. I just really missed the interaction that I had with kids and, being able to give back to. And so I decided to apply for some teaching jobs. And I reached out to Mr. Buckler here at Erie High School, and I was very fortunate in getting a job here, and I was able to complete my alternative teaching license that first year. So it's this program that you do while you're teaching that you can still get certified to become a teacher. And since I had that math background, I was able to do so. So this is now my third year at Erie High School, my third year teaching overall. It's so weird to think that I've been here this long already. And it's my second year coaching volleyball here, and I coach the JV team. So then you also see the picture up in the top right-hand corner. That's my fiance, Brett. So we just recently got engaged in December. And he is also a secondary math teacher, and he also enjoys coaching. So kind of just going through this PowerPoint, these are kind of the areas we're going to highlight. Your students all have access to each of these areas, and they also have this PowerPoint in their Schoology. So if you ever want to reference back to it or have them show you something specific, please just reach out to them and ask them. So classroom expectations, these are kind of the 3 rules that I ask of all my students is that they be brave. So be brave in taking a chance, asking for help or, asking questions to others as well. And just really taking that challenge and not getting frustrated. So being brave in not only math, but in their education and in life in general. And then working hard. So always being determined to turn things in on time, not have missing assignments, studying extra hard, digging deeper than what you usually do to work hard to make sure that you are getting or putting everything forward and really taking advantage of the opportunity that you have to learn in the school environment. And lastly, to have fun. So I really like to think that my classroom is kind of a place where kids can joke and have fun, and we can also, be serious and take care of business and, math is such a serious subject in general that I just really want to make sure that there's still that fun and lightheartedness about it. So with that too, in the syllabus kind of highlights a little more classroom specific rules, all that good stuff. I'm not going to go through that because your kids should have showed it and shared it with you at the beginning of the semester. And if they didn't, just ask them to show it to you again. And then if you have any questions on that, you can always reach out. So we do in fact have a textbook. I don't know if you have been aware of this or not, but your students all have a textbook that they have access to. So this is kind of the step-by-step instructions. They have a PDF of the instructions that they can go through to access it. Now, I want to kind of talk about it real quick here because your students don't necessarily learn page by page from the textbook. So Mrs. Fox is the other geometry honors teacher, and her and I create a note packet, and it kind of pulls stuff from the textbook, but we go off of our district curriculum that's provided to us to teach. So we kind of teach notes in our own sense. We make homeworks that have stuff from the books or have stuff from other resources or questions that we have made. So we kind of pull all these things together. So we don't necessarily go step by step from the textbook. We use it as a resource, but your students also have access to it to use it as a resource because they're able to, get some extra practice problems there, get some extra explanations. The book may explain it a little different. And in our notes, we'll always write, if we're in our first lesson and it's equivalent to section 1.1 in the textbook, we always list it on there in parentheses. So they kind of have an area to reference to as well. So geometry honors, what are we actually learning? So our course focuses on the 3 critical areas, and our objective is exploring congruence, similarity, and right triangle relationships, proving properties of triangles, quadrilateral, and circles, and using area and volume to model and solve problems. So these are the concepts that are kind of aligned with the Colorado academic standards, and this is solely what we go off of in building that. Now here's kind of a breakdown of our topics, so you can kind of just look through there. For semester 1 and semester 2. So unit 1, we're just wrapping up with transformations and congruence. We're getting ready to start unit 2. And unit 2 and 3 kind of build off of each other. There's just a lot of information in between those two. And then unit 4 will wrap up with quadrilaterals. Next semester, we'll talk about similar triangles, trigonometry. So right triangle trig we'll do a lot of, circles, and volume and surface area. So a calendar, kind of an outline. If your kids haven't showed this to you yet, this is something that Mrs. Fox and I do at the start of every note packet. We kind of just lay everything out, and we will walk through with the kids on the first day of this unit what your homework date assigned is, what the due date is, and we kind of fill in that whole right side column. So all of our dates are kind of filled out together. So it just highlights what homeworks, what days we're doing homeworks, what note topics we're going through, when our quizzes are and when our test is. So that way they kind of have everything laid out for the whole unit ahead of time. I am very much the person who likes to plan ahead and make sure I know what's happening as we progress throughout units or in life in general. I like to have a plan for what I'm doing. So I know that there are some kids out there too that really appreciate looking forward and planning in the future too, especially those who are athletes or who have other extracurricular activities that may need a plan in advance for being absent, or I know that stuff comes up too. So if they're ever gone a day, this is a good reference to go back to. And then again, we also provide this calendar because I know visually sometimes it's a little easier to see when things are due and when things will be assigned. Now, keep in mind, calendars are tricky right now with everything changing. So some of our due dates may change a little bit. If we switch to a hybrid model or if we go all the way back in person, there's going to be some adjusting time. So we will have to adjust some of those stuff. And right now we are planning unit by unit. So at least we have that whole unit kind of laid out. But just keep that in mind and be flexible with us as we're trying to be flexible too. So Schoology is a big source for this virtual learning. During our online learning, Schoology will be our source of learning for everything, okay? This is where all your assignments are, your notes, discussions, video links, etc. And I've tried really hard to keep things consistent throughout Schoology. And moving forward, I will keep things consistent. So Schoology is a platform that I have used in my classroom before all this COVID stuff started and before we transitioned to learning online. So on Schoology, even if we're back in person or we're in the hybrid model, we will also still heavily rely on Schoology. And I just put all of my homeworks on there, assignments, notes, anything you may need will always be accessible to Schoology. If you're ever gone a day, make sure that you're checking those updates. Or if your student's gone a day, make sure they are checking those. So Schoology, mine looks a little different because it's a teacher version versus a student version, but this is kind of their homepage. I thought it would be helpful to kind of just show you what they see on their end. So that way, if you have questions or if they have questions, you might be able to reference to this to kind of help them. So my WebEx link is at the top there. They've all done a great job getting online, being respectful during class. Please give your kids a pat on the back. I've really appreciated their respect during this online learning. I know it's been tough, but they've been awesome through it. Class documents kind of just has the syllabus. It has our calendar. So if you have any questions, it has this PowerPoint in there. You can ask them to access that for you. First week of class folder, I will warn you, is not the most organized. I was still trying to figure everything out here, so just bear with me in that one. But this Unit 1 folder is kind of the consistent route that we're going to take for all of this, and it's how I've kind of laid out every unit. So here you can see unit materials folder will have all the materials you'll need. So your unit assignments, so homework assignments, your notes, calendar, everything that you may need is in there as a PDF. Okay. And then each day you can kind of see, so there's day 1 through 5, kind of just gives you an outline of what's in the folder, what day it is, what we're doing. And then here you have the following days for the folder. So I apologize, some are unpublished. That's why they're grayed out because I am making this today on Tuesday, the 15th. So we just finished class having that. And if we look into that folder, so let's say we want to click into that folder, it will bring up this. So I have a daily class agenda, which just kind of highlights everything that we're going over for the day. And then the kids are working on homework number 9. So that's their assignment, their in-class assignment for the day. So I'm not sure if they've shared with you or not, but I've kind of taken this flipped classroom approach. I did a couple classes where I taught live with them and it just moved too fast, I felt. So I decided to make videos for everything. We do spend class time every day going over the videos that they watched and if there's any questions through there. So it's kind of like they're getting it twice. But I just wanted to provide those videos because I know it's helpful to kind of have that opportunity to pause, rewind, or take it at a slower pace and go back and rewatch those if necessary. So with that being said, they're watching the videos as kind of their homework, and then they're getting class time to work on the homework. So today they worked on homework 9 during class, and then day 10 video notes was their homework. So everything's just kind of in here. As they work day by day, everything they would need for today is in that folder. So again, I tried to keep it really consistent. Let's talk about grading though, because this kind of falls in line with Schoology. So Infinite Campus is going to be your source of all your real grades. So everything is updated through Infinite Campus. That's a reflection of how your student is doing in class. So missing assignments go in there, all that good stuff. So with Infinite Campus, okay, there is a Schoology gradebook, and I put grades in there too, but that's because they transfer over in an Infinite Campus, but they only do it if I individually sync them. So if you've turned something in on Schoology and it has a grade on Schoology, but I missed it and I didn't get it over to Infinite Campus, especially on late work, okay? Late work is a big thing to kind of watch out for because Schoology doesn't update me if you turn in something past the due date. So if you turn in late work, I don't really get a notification for that. So I've told your students to, if you turn in something late, don't be afraid to send me an email, which they've all done great on because then it's easier for me to update their Infinite Campus. So Infinite Campus, just keep in mind, is a true grade. If something doesn't seem right there, always send me an email, reach out to me. I know that I'm prone to make mistakes, and I know especially during this time, it's so hard to keep track of everything. I'm doing my best to, but I know, again, I make mistakes. So just have your kids kind of check that regularly, and they do a good job too because they like to know what they're doing. Another thing with late work. So if an assignment ever goes in as a missing, that means they can still turn it in. The instant it turns to a 0 means they can no longer turn it in. So I always accept work up until the end of the unit. So on the day of the unit test, if you have anything from unit 1 that you may need to turn in late, I will take it until that day. Okay. Now, if they were gone or absent towards the end of the unit and they needed that extra time, just have them communicate with me. The more communication, the better. And you guys will know that I will usually tend to over communicate. And I'm sure your kids can tell you that too. But I just rather know too much than not enough. So if they're going to be gone, make sure I know. Even if they end up telling me 3 times, it's okay. As long as I know, then they'll get that extended time past that unit test. So with that also being said, okay, they do lose points every day that it's late. So they will be losing points, but I always encourage them, some points are better than no points. So with our grading policy, so assessments in an honors course weighs 50% of their grade. So that's a really heavy weight. Their final is 25%, and then their learning activities, which is homework, notes, all that stuff, is the other 25%. So it is a heavy based assessment class, but that's just how it is. It's a math department wide rule for our honors courses. For regular courses, it's a little lower, it's a little different, but for honors, it's 50%. And honors, we also do not give any test retakes or test corrections. So again, that's something in our regular math courses, they all get 1 retake, but in an honors course, there are no retakes, and that's math department wide. So if you have any questions on that, please let me know as well. So again, contact information. Best way to reach out to me is through email. Please do not ever hesitate. I always try to make myself as available as possible. My goal is to always answer emails within 48 hours. Again, that's my goal. I know it's been super overwhelming with the online stuff right now. So if it's a little past 48 hours, I apologize, but just know that I will be getting back to you. Here's my email. So Karis_Nicole@svvsd.org. And then my WebEx meeting link. If you ever need to set up a time with me, if you'd like to meet through WebEx, or if you'd like to schedule a phone call, that's something that we can put into place as well. Well, thank you again for listening. And like I said, if you guys have any questions or you just want to check in, please feel free to reach out to me. I appreciate all of you, and your kids have been great so far. I'm so happy I get to teach them.